Southampton 2, Manchester United 2 at St Mary's, so 2-2 draw at St Mary's, 4 goals in the game between the sides. Now, Manchester United, we know Jose Mourinho's under pressure. We know that Mark Hughes is currently under pressure, with Southampton because they potentially only won one game all season, as we all know. So, potentially now, as I go before I go into the match, potentially, now we're 7th, we sit 16 points behind top. 6 behind top 4, and potentially if Chelsea win tomorrow, it will be 9 points. So our top 4 hopes are filtering away. As I currently said, I think basically going into the game, we've only won 3 away games all season, winless now in 3 Premier League games. As I said, and again a lacklustre performance. As I said, we still remain unbeaten against Southampton in 6 visits now. Reportedly, we haven't lost St Mary's, since 2003, and potentially we have beaten Southampton on 8 different occasions, in the Premier League, from being behind as well. But potentially for me, going into the game, we know the team who's Mourinho rotated it differently. He went. We knew that we had Lindelof out. He's out December. We know Sanchez is currently out. Mourinho said he's confirmed that he could be out for a long time, until January. Bailey wasn't featured in the squad. Neither was Chris Smalling. So Jose Mourinho had changed the system at the back as well. And Darwin wasn't there as well. So potentially Jose Mourinho went with I think it was a 5-3-2 formation. So potentially he changed the system at the back. He put Matic at centre back. He also put Scott McTominay at centre back as well. They're obviously usually midfielders. So he went with David De Gea in net. Potentially went with Ashley Young at the right back. He went with Jones. He went with Scott McTominay, Jones, and Matic, and went with Luke Shaw at fullback. Midfield 3. He went with Herrera. He went with a Herrera, Pogba, and Fellaini, and up front Romelu Lukaku and Marcus Rashford. But potentially for me, it's time now to sack Jose Mourinho, as I currently said. Potentially, we found ourselves 2-0 down in the space of the first 20 minutes. As I said, I haven't actually watched the highlights because they haven't uploaded on YouTube yet, as I said. But potentially we was 2-0 down in the first 20 minutes, and Manchester United just basically don't know how to pair. They don't know how to start a game. As we've seen this season, the performances are absolutely atrocious, and potentially we only seem to play and show some fight or spirit when we desperately need to start playing football, and that's what we potentially did towards the end of the first half. To be quite fair, it was an entertaining first half. There was 4 goals in the first half. Southampton took the lead. It was from Stuart Armstrong. Southampton obviously, it confirmed they had out Ryan Bertrand. They had Sam Gallagher out. They had Shane Long out. And they had Danny Ings out as well. Potentially, Southampton started the game very, very brightly. 2-0 up in the first 20 minutes. And, potentially our goal difference is absolutely terrible this season. It's now 22 goals conceded. We're now in 14 games. Drawn 4 games. Lost 4 games. And it's just not looking very, very good at Manchester United at the moment, and I think the ball needs to be out. So Southampton took the lead. Southampton started 2 of their young players. He got the assist. It was a wonderful, wonderful strike from Stuart Armstrong, and potentially I went in the back of the net, and that was 1-0. And then potentially it got worse and worse for Manchester United. Potentially, Kedrich, is that what they call his name, scored an absolutely stunning 3 kick. Potentially, I think Rashford had fouled some Southampton player outside the box. Can't remember who it was, and it was a stunning strike, and that made it 2-0. And then potentially Manchester United had to find a way to come back into the game, and potentially we did. I can't the goals. I didn't actually see Manchester United's goals, so I can't comment until it hasn't uploaded on YouTube yet, until I basically see the goals. But good news is Romelu Lukaku got his name on the score sheet today. Is this first goal since September? He hasn't scored in is it 12, 13 games all in all, Romelu Lukaku. Good to see that Marcus Rashford started today. He got 2 of the assists for the goal as well. So Romelu Lukaku in the third, I think it was in the third, just over half an hour mark. Rashford was struggling in the first half an hour of the game. Potentially we got back in again. I think it was the 33rd minute. Lukaku got us back in it, and that was 2-1. And then I think just before the 40-minute mark, we levelled it to 2-2. Herrera had got the goal. He hasn't mainly played from the start of this season. He has been making substitute appearances under Herrera, and he potentially got us into the game. And that was 2-2, and then potentially went in at half time. And then potentially in the second half there was no spite, there was no fight, and it was a pretty lacklustre second half. Not much entertainment, not much pressure. No team hardly put any pressure on. Some stats in the game: there was 16 shots to Southampton, Man United 11. Southampton created 9. Man United created 12. As I said, I think Man United had more possession, as I said, but. The last 20 minutes, I thought we did very, very well. We got ourselves back into the game, from being 2-0 down. And potentially, we play better oppositions playing like this, and we will get absolutely annihilated, of course. But I'll give you my analysis as I can. I haven't watched the highlights, so I can't give you much more analysis than that. But I've just basically watched Jose Mourinho's post-match interview. He's mentioned about the midfield. He said we lost too many balls in midfield. He basically mentioned about we lost too many balls in our transition to the last third, and that's difficult to have that continue to Jose Mourinho had explained. He also mentioned he said there was some positives to take out of the game. He said in the last 15-20 minutes, he said Man United were he was on about connecting with attacking players. He was on about picking the right passing. This is in his post-match interview. On about picking the right pass. He also said, what else did he say now? Picking the right pass. He said playing simple, accelerating the game. This is what Jose Mourinho had mentioned, potentially. And then he said in the second half, potentially, he said to Jose Mourinho that we went back to that dynamic in the midfield, and then we lost too many balls in the midfield. So basically, he's on about Man United losing too many potential balls in the midfield, but he said we showed, good fight and good spirit to potentially, from being 2-0 down to come back to 2-2 in the game. But and he admitted that Jose Mourinho, it wasn't a good result, Jose Mourinho, but he mentioned also about respect for the club. I think he mentioned, I can't remember the full thing he said, he mentioned about Rashford and Jones, something about having respect for the club or something like that. He said in his post-match interview as well, but he mentioned about the midfield. He said we lost far too many balls in the midfield. That he said we went back to that dynamic in the midfield second half, and he mentioned that we lost too many balls, and he said that usually leads to goals. This is what Mourinho said in his post-match interview. But for me, we saw in the second half as well. Saw Doyle come on. He made his Premier League debut. Lingard came on. And Anthony Martial came on because Martial didn't start today, as we all know, but he came on as a substitute. But Rashford was struggling in the first half an hour. Then he did very, very well. He got 2 assists, and I think potentially Rashford has basically saved us today from suffering another defeat. But these are teams Manchester United should be beating. We know we've got a good record against Southampton. We haven't lost to them since 2016 at Old Trafford. We haven't lost to them at St Mary's since 2003, and now we're winless in our 3 Premier League games, and it could be getting worse and worse and worse. And I think now the pressure will build upon Jose Mourinho and so too Mark Hughes, because they've only won 1 game all season. Southampton are in the relegation zone, and today they could have potentially won that game, and Southampton will be, kicking themselves and, be frustrated with themselves, that they potentially didn't win that game today because they was, winning 2-0. And as I said, we're 7th. We're lucky we're not in a worse position. Jose Mourinho's style of play, his managerial style, just doesn't suit this club. And I think, a lot of players are unhappy with Mourinho because obviously he changed the system at the back today because there was no Bailey, no Lindelof, no Smalling. Obviously, there were no Sanchez attackively, so he's out till January. So potentially when defensively, he went with McTominay, he went with Jones. I thought he might have put Smalling alongside Jones, but he rotated it differently. He put McTominay there, he put Jones there, and he put Nemanja Matic there as well. And people questioned, why doesn't he drop Nemanja Matic? Potentially, Fred was on the bench again. Jose Mourinho didn't decide to bring Fred on. £50 million. I don't think he's getting enough game time. But potentially, I'll be watching Match of the Day tonight to watch Manchester United's goals. I didn't see it. The only video that I uploaded was 2 Southampton goals that I did saw. They scored a stunning 3 kick and did Southampton as well. But they'll be very, very disappointed that they didn't, get the results there. I think out of both teams, Manchester United will be relieved that we didn't lose the game when we got us way back into the game in the last 15-20 minutes of the first half. But Mourinho's explained in his post-match interview about we lost too many balls in midfield. He said went back to that dynamic in the second half, potentially losing too many balls, and he said that usually leads to goals. This is what Jose Mourinho said, and he basically said there was some positive to take. He said apart from the interference. Apart from the interference in the attacking play in the midfield, he mentioned as well, there was a positive to take from that game. But he did say we showed a good fight and spirit and character, to come back from 2-0 to get back into the game as well. But it's good to see Rashford, he was very, very frustrated on Tuesday night because he had a catalogue of chances. He didn't get his name on the score sheet on Tuesday, and the performance on Tuesday was woeful again. So where do we go from this position now? Because we've basically, we've got Arsenal coming up on Wednesday. We've got, I think it's Fulham after that, Valencia in the Champions League. Mourinho said we need points. He's not focusing on the Champions League. We're not in the League Cup. And then, with Valencia, then it's Liverpool. We have got big games coming up in this Christmas period. And I'm not convinced Mourinho's going to, elevate to this high level. He's been recently talking about, the history of what he's achieved, the silverways, what he's achieved in that. And potentially the expectation levels would have been. Basically, I just think his style of football is absolutely atrocious. I think he needs to depart the club. And why is he always going on about history? We know he's had criticism with players, and I think he's wrong for publicly criticising players. But the expectation levels would have been, when he came to his club, was to get Manchester United back competitive and get us challenging for major honours. And I think now the board need to realise reportedly he's going to get 100 odd million pounds to spend. Tens of £1 million spending in January. But reportedly Mourinho came out, I think it was today or yesterday, as I uploaded you on my last video. Potentially, he said he's not too convinced, and he said it's unlikely Man United are going to get any major January signings any major signings in January, and he doesn't think we're going to get any Glasgow signings because potentially we do need signs in that team. We need a strong central defender. We need an attacker as well, and there's a lot of problems in this squad. But as I said, I wouldn't trust Mourinho this money. And he did use Tottenham as an example. He says, we know we've been linked with, quite a few Tottenham players over the years. Essentially, he says he knows how Tottenham are reluctant to sell their best players. Tottenham don't sell, he explained. And Tottenham are very, very ruthless over the top players. And he mentioned they have sold the best players, in the past, as we all currently know. But potentially, I think now it's time for the board to react, kick Mourinho out of this club, and then they've got to basically find out, the board and the others need to focus on getting the right man for the club. A man that's got the winning mentality to come to this club, a man that suits the trappings of this club to address the problems out in his team. Because I think Mourinho's changed the whole identity of this club since he's come. The style of play's changed. He has spent just under £400 million on players, which he's bought 11 players. He's sanctioned 14 players off, and potentially, I think Mourinho. I don't think he'll probably be here now at the end of the season, because there'll be so many fans on his back. And potentially this season, we've been very, very lucky. Newcastle, we came back for 2 goals down and won that. Bournemouth, we scored in the last minute in that. Newcastle scored in the last minute. Lucky to win them 2 games. Lucky to win against Juventus in the Champions League away from home. We only scored 1 goal in 3 Champions League games. In the Champions League, we've only scored 1 goal in 3 home games. Also last week against Palace, we was lucky not to lose that. Woeful performance again against Crystal Palace. Absolutely shocking. We could have lost that. So potentially Man United should have won today. Potentially, I think Mourinho's tactical game plan's wrong. People have questioned it. His team selection's wrong. And people have been questioning about this as well, as we all currently know. And potentially, but I think of what I've heard today in this game, potentially, Man United's best part was the last 15 to 20 minutes of the first half, when we potentially got back into the game. And Mourinho confirmed, he said the interference in the attacking play in the midfield. Apart from that, he said apart from that, there were positives to take from the game. And as I said, yes, we did lose a lot of balls in midfield, so we was lacking in that midfield. As I currently said. But it was good to see Lukaku get his name on the score sheet. He's had a good goal scoring record against Southampton anywhere, potentially as Romelu Lukaku. Potentially, I'm going to have to watch a match of the day to see. But he said second half, we changed that dynamic in the midfield. And when you're lacking in midfield, when you lose too many balls in midfield, the Southampton create attacks, all the teams create attacks, and then it usually leads to counter-attacks and goals. And we are lacking in a lot of parts of the pitch defensively, attackively. I think the right-hand side still potentially needs addressing as well, as we all currently know. And yeah, and we was lucky we didn't lose today potentially. We only see when we go behind, and that's the problem. He only shows them out and his eye and passion. When we go behind, I just think a lot of these players are not playing for Jose Mourinho potentially, because we know we spent a lot of money, since Alex Ferguson's retired. As we all know, spent like £1 billion in all managerials, and it just hasn't worked out. Had that 3 decades success with Ferguson, the trophies we won. Since he's left, he hasn't been the same. Didn't work under Moyes, only a short tenure, was here 9 months. Didn't work under Van Gaal for a year or two. And now Mourinho, it's not working. It's basically like year one again with Jose Mourinho. It's like he's getting used to the new era, getting used to the players, getting used to how the team play. But it's all, I criticise Mourinho. His style of play is atrocious, and potentially, I'm absolutely disgusted with this, because potentially we've got one of the worst goal differences now in the Premier League, and potentially winning December with 16 points from top, with 6 behind top 4. Chelsea play tomorrow. Chelsea play Fulham tomorrow. Arsenal play Tottenham tomorrow, and there's another game as well. Liverpool Everton. I think the Merseyside derby as well. But you look at Manchester City, there one was it today, potentially very, very good. I said very, very good. Again, they've scored over 40 goals this season in the Premier League, only conceded 6. But I had confidence, when Mourinho came in, I thought potentially Manchester United were going to be back competitive, we're going to be back challenging for major honours, considering Mourinho's history as well. But obviously, it just hasn't worked out. This club has had disputes with top players. He's got a good relationship with Lukaku. He's got a good relationship with Nemanja Matic. And now he's had disputes with Lex Sanchez recently, because Sanchez was frustrated that he got dropped on a Tuesday night. As we all know, potentially we're not scoring enough goals. We're not showing enough attacking. We're not showing enough attacking instinct. The performances are not up to scratch, and something needs addressing. I think the board need to, suss out who will be the right man to replace Jose Mourinho at Old Trafford. We know there's been potential talks of Zinedine Zidane coming into the team. Reportedly, his son had confirmed in the press the other day, Zinedine Zidane's, that reportedly he's going to be returning back to management soon, is Zinedine Zidane. And do you think Mourinho hasn't got the stature at this club? He hasn't. He's proven in Premier League, but he hasn't got the stature at this club. Do you think Zinedine Zidane would have the correct winning mentality if he came to the club? Do you think he'd have the correct stature to command us in that position, what we want to be in? We're not nowhere near in a position that we should be in. But Zinedine Zidane, as I said, his son confirmed he's returning back to management soon. He stepped down as Real Madrid manager back in May. He's been managerless for 6 months, and Zinedine Zidane's got a good pedigree as well. Also winning honours with Real Madrid, playing for Real Madrid in his senior career, playing for Juventus in his senior career, winning honours and playing for Bordeaux and that. But potentially, it's also said by Munich had been interesting, but Zinedine Zidane's never been proven of playing in the Premier League or manager in the Premier League as well. But there has been potential talks about it as well. There were reports coming out the other week about Conte potentially coming to replace Mourinho if Mourinho is sacked from Man United. Potentially, Conte is well proven in the Premier League. He won the Premier League with Chelsea for season, the FA Cup. He's also managed Juventus, Atlanta, Italy. He's played for Juventus in his senior career as well. So, potentially, do you think he'd have the stature to come to Manchester United? What about maybe, what's his name? Laurent Blanc. Do you think he'd be all right to come to Manchester United? I just don't want Jose Mourinho at this club anymore. And potentially, we're lucky we're not in a worse position. This is our worst start to a season for absolutely years. As we all know, the lowest we've ever finished is 7th, and that was under David Moyes. That was worst time as being a Manchester United fan. But first 14 games under Moyes, under Van Gaal, we didn't even have this as bad a start under Moyes and Van Gaal that we've had under Jose Mourinho this season. Last season, we looked more competitive. We were scoring more goals. We kept more clean sheets. Potentially, we did finish 20 points behind City last season, we know, but we got second. Potentially, I don't think, where we're going, I don't even think we're going to get the top 4 this season. And that's all my all honesty opinion. And potentially, Everton are above us as well. We're sitting 7th. Why the hell are we sitting 7th? We shouldn't be there, because the size of this club, it's a big, massive club. Historically, we are the most successful club in English football. And I'm surprised, the board have put up with this nonsense from Jose Mourinho and Manchester United. I'm surprised they're giving Jose Mourinho this. They're still giving Jose Mourinho time. We know he had a disappointing transfer window. He didn't get the potential targets that he wanted, and he has had disputes with Ed Woodward about this. But there is plans for the January transfer window. I think get another man in before January to see if the majority of these players are good enough for this team. But potentially I blame Jose Mourinho, as I do keep saying. Arsenal Wednesday night, no confidence going into that game as well, because they're looking very, very good at Arsenal. I think they're undefeated in like 18, 19 games now. Is it or something like that? Arsenal Football Club. And they're doing very, very well under Unai Emery. They had, Wenger was there for like over a decade, 22 years. First 10, 11 years of, his managerial career at Arsenal were very, very good. And then towards the end, he was lacking. A lot of Arsenal fans wanted him out. He won a lot of silverware with Arsenal. And, potentially, I think, potentially Arsenal are going to win on Wednesday night. We know they haven't won at Old Trafford in the Premier League since 2006. I think they're going to win on Wednesday night. I really, really do. I know they have bad records against the top sides. They have bad records against the top sides, as they've proven in recent years. But Unai Emery has got them playing very, very well now. And I think they can come to Old Trafford and get 3 points if these performances do not step up. And I can't think of one game this season where Manchester United have showed any heart and desire to go out there and perform. We only seem to perform for like one half a game, or we only seem to perform when we desperately, desperately need to get back into a game. As we've shown in the Southampton game, 2-0 down in the first 20 minutes to a team that's in the relegation zone, that's only 1-1 game all season long. And then potentially all of a sudden Manchester United come back in the game, show some heart and desire for like 15, 20 minutes. Second half comes, Man United are pressing to score more goals. Southampton didn't really do it in the second half as well, because it was a dull second half. There was quite a few chances in the game, as I said, but potentially there was nothing in the second half. As I said, Mourinho explained, it was back to the dynamic in the midfield of losing so many balls in the midfield, and we did have a lot of problems in that midfield today, according to what Jose Mourinho said. But potentially, and the board need to be ruthless, stand up and tell Mourinho to get out of this club as soon as possible. We don't care what he's won in the past. We don't care about his history. We just want him to potentially leave this club as soon as possible. And we know Mark Hughes is in the similar situation. He has speculations about a future. Does Mark Hughes as well? Because obviously he's under serious pressure, considering Southampton have been absolutely awful this season. Home record's very, very bad, especially this season as well. Potentially, Manchester United, I said Manchester City have got a great, great manager, Pep Guardiola, emulate the football did by Munich and Barcelona, and he's got City playing great attacking football, and City are absolutely phenomenal, absolutely the best team in English football without a doubt, defensively good, attackingly very, very good, as I said. And as I said, when Mourinho came into the job, I'd have thought, Mourinho can probably do a better job here. This is when he first came to the job. He can do a better job at Man United than Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, but he has not proven this, Mourinho, whatsoever. And potentially, as he updated you earlier on, news were coming out of the press about Raphael Varane as well. Reportedly, Man United have been linked to in the past. We know Mourinho's been linked with a lot of central defenders. As he updated you on my last video, it came out about Raphael Varane that reportedly Man United had put reportedly are preparing to put around an £89 million bid in. It could cost in the region of around over £75 million if Real Madrid are willing to do any business. Reportedly, it did say Man United had agreed personal terms for the player, according to the press. So reportedly, Man United are preparing to put a bid in for him, which would potentially make him the most expensive defender in the world. He's worked with Mourinho in the past, so they do have a good relationship. That was the breaking news from the press today. And he is highly experienced. He's made over 2 century appearances with Real Madrid. He's won 15 major honours with Real Madrid in 2018 FIFA Minute, 2014 FIFA World Cup. Got nominated the Best Young Player award. And as I said, he was highly experienced in France, risen up the ranks with Lens. He was there for years and years, in the youth academy. He was only there for one season in his, when he made his professional debut, and he played for one season, when he made his professional debut in the 2010-11 season. And then obviously went to Real Madrid, and he's proven himself to be a fantastic world-class centre-back. And potentially he's been like 2011. So he's been like at least 7-8 years now at Real Madrid. And potentially Man United have reportedly agreed personal terms for the player, but reportedly it could cost in the region of up to £89 million. Potentially, we know Real Madrid have obviously, the loss of Ronaldo during the course of the summer as well. As we all know, do you think Raphael would be keen coming onto the Premier League? Rather than experience of playing in the Premier League, but he is a very, very good defender. He is still in his prime years. He's 24, 25 years of age. So reportedly, we know I think the most expensive defender is at the moment is Liverpool's Virgil van Dijk. The Liverpool paid £75 million for him as well. But potentially, as I do keep saying, guys, regardless of who Man United get into the club, I just don't think we're going to improve under Jose Mourinho, because I think everything is wrong about him in this club. He doesn't have the winning mentality. He doesn't have the right correct stature to command us to that level we're on our elevator, and there's no positive at Manchester United Football Club at the moment. The football's boring to watch. We're lacking the midfield today. Defensively awful. And there's just nothing in that team that's impressing me at the moment. I haven't seen the best of Manchester United since we had the likes of Scholes, Giggs, Carrick, Van Nistelrooy, Ronaldo, as I said, Vidic, Ferdinand, all them great players that we had. And since then, we just haven't been the same team. It's not the Manchester United high I've witnessed. And this football is absolutely atrocious at the moment at this club. And there's got to be a way to improve it. And the first way is getting rid of Mourinho. Giggs feels though he can still turn it around at United because of his history and the success he's had. It doesn't matter. He is not now doing it at Manchester United. And, he was frustrated today during the game. Today was Jose Mourinho as well. And what's happened to the type of players that we used to have. What has happened to them all? And and potentially Man United reportedly had a £91 million bid turned down for Koulibaly. He's a current Napoli defender. He's well proven. He's doing very, very well in it with Napoli. Can play as centre back, can play as a left back and defensive midfielder as well. Can Koulibaly. Reportedly, Napoli rate him at around £89 million or something like that. They would, make a huge profit on it. Would Napoli, if they went along with it? Napoli, potentially, Napoli only paid £7 million from Genk. He's also been at Mets in the past as well as the player, and he's established himself very, very well with Napoli. I think he has got a contract with them 2022, 2023. Recently being nominated African Footballer of the Year as well. Koulibaly, do you think he'd fit in the Manchester United agenda well if he was to potentially come as well? We know Man United have been linked to Harry Maguire. He's got a new long-term deal with Leicester, as we all know. Toby Alderweireld, Nikola Milkovic has been mentioned as well. So we are linked with a host of players, but Mourinho's come out. He has confirmed that potentially he isn't convinced that Man United will get any Galactico players in January window. Mourinho come out and he said he thinks at the most in January Man United will sign only one player, and this is basically what Jose Mourinho thinks. But potentially there needs to be changes now in this club. The board need to realise it now. Jose Mourinho has to be sacked from this club immediately. As we all couldn't know. Good to see Doyle makes Premier League debut today as he came. And I thought he was actually going to start today, Diego Doyle, potentially. But obviously he didn't. But as I said, Mourinho had mentioned in his current interview that potentially we lost balls in our transition to the last third, which is difficult to have that continuity. He mentioned we lost balls in the midfield. He mentioned potentially, there was interference in our attacking play in the midfield. He said apart from that, there was positive to take from the game. He mentioned about playing simple and accelerating the game. Did Jose Mourinho in his current post-match interview. So this is what he's all basically mentioned in his post-match interview, Jose Mourinho. And he said the second half we changed. We went back to that dynamic in the midfield where we lost too many balls. So this is what Mourinho said in his post-match interview. As I said, Mark Hughes, Southampton will be disappointed they didn't get 3 points today, as I said. But as I said, I need to go see the goals from Rashford. Sorry, not Rashford, Lukaku and Ander Herrera. Obviously, Rashford got 2 of these assists, so I need to go watch them goals. When it's updated, the highlights, I'm going to tell you about the goals anywhere. So potentially, yeah. So that's potentially everything to update today. Drop your comments, likes below on the situation. What do you think? Mourinho definitely out now for me. Potentially. And I just give up. Lacklustre performance again today. Apart from the last 20 minutes first half, apart from that, it was a lacklustre performance. Southampton started very, very well on the front foot, got themselves in a 2-goal lead in the first 20 minutes. Then Man United came to the game, and after that, second half, Southampton didn't show out. Man United didn't show out, so potentially it was a lacklustre second half. And the game, filtered away in the second half. There was no entertainment at all in the second half. But in the midfield, we lacked a lot in that game. As I said, Luke Shaw obviously playing against his former club today. But potentially, that's about it. So anyway, guys, that's everything today. What do you think to the situation? Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribing as always. And take care. God bless, guys. And with more live videos coming up very, very soon. Take care. Bye.